What drew you to get into campaigning about climate change?
Because I just couldn't sit back and think, oh, that's terrible. I had to do something about it.
Well, you did. That's a simple answer.
Closest thing to God in our house was David Attenborough.
So I saw the documentaries from David Attenborough. They mentioned Greta and her protesting, but also really showed in detail the plastic problem as well.
For me, it was definitely the youth strikes. I feel like everyone heard about them, everyone was affected by them.
People started putting up like posters around the community about how our community in particular is being affected by air pollution. I was connecting, the ecological aspect of it along with like the people, and can see what's happening like right there. And I was like, I have to do something about this.
A recent report says that sea levels are likely to rise by at least a metre by the end of the century. How does that make you feel?
Considering on the maps the majority of the city that I live in will be underwater, pretty scary.
When you hear statistics like that, it just does make you feel a bit helpless.
By the end of the century, I will be about 80, 90.
Having grown up in Brighton and by the sea plays a really calming role, but it's pretty terrifying that it's going to rise by a metre.
I have family in Jamaica, which is an island, which is also very highly at risk, and it's already kind of facing different climate impacts.
And in Antarctica as well, and the Arctic, where there's polar bears and penguins. Their habitats are disappearing.
So fast.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take in. I think it can feel so overwhelming, but like you said, kind of turning that into action, I think, is one of the most important things.
And there's this quote, the best time to act was years ago and the second best time is now.
Has your involvement in climate campaigning changed your or your family's relationship with nature?
Possibly my relationship with nature kind of sparked this kind of interest in campaigning for climate.
The connection between me and nature has just grown since I've started fighting for it.
At the age of 10, you were making decisions about the climate. It was impossible for me not to become involved in it.
My mum, who used to keep quite a neat garden, we've now got a meadow in it, and I feel really grateful that I have a family who's very much into it as well.
A year ago I say I would never have an electric car, and what have I gone and done? I've gone and got myself an electric car.
Yeah, I think it's quite nice to be able to have the impact and just talk to your family and your friends about these things and help them into it as well.
What is COP26 and is it important?
Well, this is a big one. I need to know a lot more about COP26.
I guess in the most simple terms, the United Nations Climate Change Conference.
Basically, it's world leaders kind of coming together. It's annual.
Gathering all the nations of the world and finding a real and realisable roadmap out of this mess.
Quite lucky that it's actually happening in the UK. It's quite nice to actually see that the UK is kind of being global leaders in this.
The last thing that kind of people have heard of is maybe the Paris Agreement, and that came from COP21.
This meeting decides whether this future of ours is full of nature and happiness or whether it's full of fires and floods.
What top tips would you give for living more sustainably? In some ways we're not the best example really, but we try.
People think you have to do something really big, but really you have to do all you need to do is little things.
Next steps.
Yeah.
I would say that you pick one area that you're really interested. So if you really like fashion, pick fashion. If you notice a lot of waste in your bathroom, look at your bathroom. Or food, pick an area that is of interest to you and start there.
I think probably the easiest way for most people is eating less meat. And I also think just as an individual trying to build your connection with nature more, because the stronger connection you have with nature, the more that you feel to protect it.
The key is just taking that second to stop and think, and that extra little initiative.
Being conscious, isn't it, about not only what do you want to do in that moment, but what's the impact that's going to have.
And we tried to rewild our garden, which made a big difference, didn't it? It looks a terrible mess. So many creatures came back.
Pretty wild. Couldn't be bothered to cut the grass.